What if the woman you loved most was also the woman you trusted least? Not because of what she did, but because of what she could do. For most of human history, a woman's body was not fully her own. It belonged to a bloodline. And bloodlines do not forgive doubt. Let that sink in. And go back 10,000 years, before science, before blood tests, before anyone could prove who fathered a child. There was only one thing men had: suspicion. And suspicion became law. Think about this. A man could walk away for months, hunting, raiding, trading in distant lands. When he returned, how would he know? How would he know the child in her arms was his? He couldn't. Not for certain. Not ever. So ancient societies built something else instead of proof. They built control. Not control over crime, control over possibility. If a woman could never be alone, she could never be doubted. If she could never be doubted, the bloodline stayed clean. At least, on paper. So, but wait, this wasn't just fear. It became architecture. Walls, guards, curfews, clothing that hid the body from other men's eyes. In many early civilizations, women of status were kept inside compounds. Not because they were weak, because their freedom was a threat to lineage. In ancient Mesopotamia, laws were carved into stone for this exact fear. A woman suspected of infidelity could be forced into a river. If she sank, she was guilty. If she survived, she was innocent. Justice decided by water, not evidence. Water. Let that sink in. A woman's entire fate decided by whether her lungs filled with air or river. No trial, no witness, no mercy for uncertainty. Because uncertainty itself was the enemy. In ancient Rome, a husband held power called patria potestas asterisk, authority over his household, over his children, over his wife's freedom to move, to speak, to be seen. If infidelity was even whispered, her reputation could be destroyed with a single rumor. No confession required. But here is the twisted part. Men were rarely held to the same standard. A man could father children outside marriage and face little consequence. A woman suspected of the same could lose her status, her children, her life. The rules were never about morality. They were about paternity certainty. And saying, think about this. If a man could never be sure a child was his, then controlling the woman was the only way to control the bloodline. Not love, not trust, ownership disguised as devotion. In ancient Egypt, things shifted slightly. Women held more legal rights than most civilizations of their time. They could own property, initiate divorce, testify in court. But even there, suspicion of infidelity carried devastating social weight. Rights on paper, fear in practice. In ancient China, Confucian family structure placed obedience above almost everything. A wife's virtue was measured by chastity, loyalty, and silence. Suspicion alone could end a marriage. No trial required. Just doubt ends. But wait, why did this happen almost everywhere? Across cultures that never even met each other. Different continents, different gods, different languages, yet the same fear, the same control. Why? Because paternity certainty was survival currency. A man's resources, land, name, and protection were passed through bloodline. If the bloodline was uncertain, everything he built could go to another man's child. So the fear wasn't really about love. It was about inheritance. Let that sink in. The obsession with female loyalty wasn't born from romance. It was born from economics, from survival, from the terrifying uncertainty of never truly knowing. Now think about the woman's side of this. Imagine living every day, under watch. Every glance from another man, a potential accusation. Every laugh, a possible scandal. Every private moment, public property. Some women adapted through obedience, some through silence, some through quiet rebellion, whispered secrets passed between mothers and daughters. Ways to survive a system built to control them. But some paid the ultimate price. Executions for suspected infidelity existed across dozens of ancient cultures. Public shaming, banishment, in extreme cases, death, all without confirmed evidence, because suspicion alone was treated as truth. Think about this. An entire gender shaped by a problem they didn't create. Men couldn't prove paternity, so women paid the cost of that uncertainty for thousands of years. Weren't they? But here is the truth few talk about. This system didn't just imprison women, it trapped men too. Men lived consumed by suspicion, paranoia, the fear of being deceived. Marriages built not on trust, but on control disguised as security. Nobody truly won. Let that sink in. An entire civilization structure built around a question no one could answer. Asterisk, is this child really mine? Then, everything changed. Modern science introduced something ancient humans never had. Certainty. DNA testing could finally answer what suspicion never could. But wait, even with proof now available, old instincts remain. Jealousy, control, fear of betrayal. These aren't relics of the past. They live in us still, carved into behavior long before they were carved into law. Think about this. The ancient fear of paternity uncertainty still echoes in modern relationships, in jealousy, in control, in the need to know for sure. We inherited more than bloodlines. We inherited the fear that built them. So maybe